Welcome to AG's Ace. Russian President Vladimir Putin is a war criminal, and there is absolutely no other excuse or no other words to describe him. What he has done is absolutely heinous. Let's take a look at what he has done, what his track record speaks about, and where this could go. He leaves a legacy, and he wants to leave a legacy of a unified USSR. That is one of the major driving force behind Vladimir Putin. That is why he has invaded Ukraine, and that is why so many civilian lives are getting lost. But there is a thread running between what Mr. Putin has done, what he's doing, and also with certain great dictators of the past like Stalin, Mao, and even Hitler. And I'll take you through some of the basic facts of what he has currently tried to perpetrate. Where Putin is concerned, he will go to any lengths to achieve his ambition of a unified USSR, no matter what it takes. And if that includes missile attacks on civilian buildings, so be it. He's always ready to wave the green flag. There have been allegations of genocide and torture against him and against his forces in the past, and that also stands to testimony. Now, Putin always believes that the end justifies the means, and this is a thread which runs between him, Stalin, Mao, and Hitler. He lies, and he lies incessantly and repeatedly and with great conviction. He is a Goebbels archetype, perpetrating the big lie and creating the illusion of truth, and Goebbels played that role in creating fake news and pushing it on the German agenda under the adoring eyes of his then boss, Adolf Hitler. For Putin, the reunification of the motherland sentiment is paramount. He lives and he believes in the pursuit of that dream of restoring his country's superpower status. He was a KGB agent when USSR got dismembered, and he has not forgotten those days, and it's a slight he lives with, and it is also a driving force within him. Let's take a quick look at what the other worthies did. Mao Zedong, he was responsible for nearly 1.5 million deaths during the Cultural Revolution, another million for the other campaigns, and between 35 and 45 million during the Great Leap famine. Hitler was responsible for between 11 million and 12 million non-combatant deaths, while Stalin was responsible for at least 6 million and as many as 9 million foreseeable deaths, and they were caused by deportation, starvation, and incarceration in concentration camps. But where Putin is concerned, don't think that this the only trigger is the war on Ukraine. It all began during the Chechnya War of 1999 and 2000, where he tried to cripple the separatist movement, and the Russian government resorted to unimaginable violence, a lot of the time directed against civilians who were dubbed as separatists. The Human Rights Watch has documented legions of atrocities against civilians. In 2008, Putin sent Russian troops, and they were dubbed as peacekeepers, to attack the Georgian provinces of South Ossetia and Abkhazia. Russian forces, and it is well documented, they attacked civilian targets with absolute impunity. That was a war crime. Putin invaded Ukraine in 2014, annexing Crimea and triggering a conflict in the twin towns of Luhansk and Donetsk that cost an estimated 14,000 lives. 14,000 people died. And as if that was not enough, please recall that Russian-backed militants bombed Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 over Ukraine, killing all 298 people on board. Putin, by the way, also likes to prop up puppet regimes. And this has happened in Syria. He strengthened Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. Russia was reportedly an enabler of chemical weapon attacks in Syria and had bombed civilian areas. Moscow then protected Syria from any judicial scrutiny over its atrocities committed with and on behalf of Assad by vetoing a referral of Syria to the International Criminal Court in 2014. Putin has also been accused of ordering the poisoning of Russian dissidents in the UK. So if there are dissidents who are settled in the West, none of them can feel safe if they keep attacking Putin. Alexander Litvinenko, a former officer of the Russian Federal Security Force and a KGB agent, so he lost his life in a poisoning incident. Sergei Skripal, a former Russian military officer and double agent for the British intelligence, he and his daughter, they were poisoned. They survived, luckily. Then, of course, as you all know, Alexei Navalny, Russia's best-known anti-corruption campaigner and opposition activist against the Kremlin, he was on a flight and he had been poisoned. They diverted the flight, which was on its way to Siberia, because if the flight had gone to Siberia, 100% he would have lost his life. But it was diverted to Omsk, and that move saved his life. Let's take a quick look at what the UN says and the Geneva Convention and how they dictate that acts such as willful killing, torture, or inhuman treatment, willfully causing great suffering or serious injury to body or death, extensive destruction and appropriation of property not justified by military necessity and carried out unlawfully and wantonly. These are all described under the Geneva Convention, and violation of the Geneva Convention should have serious repercussions. But let me also say that over a period of time, the UN is seen more or less as a toothless tiger, and the Geneva Convention remains more or less on paper, unfortunately. Of course, there are certain ways in which action can be taken. Ukraine has filed a lawsuit at the International Court of Justice accusing Russia of targeting civilians during its invasion. That hearing will come up pretty soon. Putin may now also qualify as a war criminal according to the Geneva Convention of 1949. When it comes to Putin's lies, he has lied at every stage of the Ukraine crisis. Last year, he had no military ambitions in Ukraine, even as he said, and he amassed a force of nearly 200,000 troops on 3 fronts. Putin also claimed that the Kyiv government sought to acquire nuclear weapons when, in fact, Ukraine, once the third largest nuclear power, had denuclearized after the Soviet Union collapsed. So it's a litany of lies. Putin has sought to justify his invasion by warning that pro-Russian rebels in eastern Ukraine faced genocide from Ukrainian forces, another white lie. So there is this huge line of lies which he has piled up, and he does it with absolute impunity. He doesn't care. However, the ICC can investigate and prosecute international crimes perpetrated by Putin and the Russian army within the territory of Ukraine during the invasion. Ukraine had signed the Rome Statute in 2000 but did not ratify it, awaiting constitutional amendments. However, the country has taken other steps to ensure that the ICC could engage. We will now have to wait and see that over and above what the West is doing through economic sanctions, through military deployment on the borders of Russia and Ukraine to increase pressure from NATO troops, we now have to see what the UN does and the ICC does, and can they apply enough pressure on Vladimir Putin so that he gets boxed in. And when that happens, the pressure increases on any human being. Putin is also a human being. He needs to feel fear. That is what is currently required, so that he backs off from this horrendous conflict. Thanks for watching AGZ.